That's hilarious.
Top down, man. Top down culture.
Yeah.
Change.
Anyway, I did
It was
feel
funny
like
because that happened.
I am apologizing.
I forgot all about
Maybe
it.
to myself more than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you worried about?
Century, they just started laughing.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
it's
so
a
you have to
lottery or
make
something?
yeah. An appointment or whatever.
Commissioner I served with on 5 County over there, Lamont Smith, used to be the sheriff. They held a lot of people that died just of
Oh, yeah.
dehydration. They
Yeah.
just lay down and die.
Oh, yeah.
in the trail. They
I
just
know
weren't
it.
prepared.
Yep.
Hey, we're just about to start commission meeting. Can I call you back, or you got a quick question? Oh, okay. I'll call you after this meeting, okay? Yeah, thanks.
Ready. Okay. Good morning, everybody, to the Iron County Commission meeting, Monday, the 8th day of August, 2022. And we'll start out today with a prayer from Paul, and I'll lead the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, as we gather this morning in these Iron County Commission chambers, we express our gratitude to Thee for the opportunity to meet and to govern ourselves in such a manner, and for the process that we're able to discuss and work for the betterment of Iron County. We're so very, very grateful for the citizens of this county, and we offer a prayer for them, those that are struggling with health or accidents or other things that they're dealing with at this time in their life, and pray that we may be of assistance to them. We ask that Thou would be with us as we deliberate the agenda items this day, that we may be thoughtful and be able to discuss them and work through them. We're so very thankful for the opportunities to serve Thee in our different capacities. We pray a blessing upon our first responders in the county and others who serve, and pray that Thou would bless them with safety and express our appreciation of them. We thank Thee for the wonderful blessings we received this last week of moisture, and pray that we may continue to receive that which is necessary to sustain life and crops. We express once again our gratitude to Thee and acknowledge Thy hand in our lives, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for 7/11/2022?
I'll move to approve the minutes for 7/11 of 22.
Second.
First, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I get an approval for claims?
I'll move for approval of the claims of payment from July 27th, 2022 to August 7th, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. We'll go to reports. Attorney Chad Dotson.
Morning.
Morning.
I'll give you a quick snapshot of where we're at. I ran some numbers. So through August 5th, we are at 668 cases referred for prosecution. Just to give you a snapshot with the previous years, in 2021, on August 5th, we had 686 cases referred for prosecution. In 2020, 742, so we're down slightly, which is good. In burglaries, property crimes, and violent crimes. So this year we have 26 cases versus 44 from last year and 43 from 2022. So that's hopefully a good trend that we've seen, a reduction in violent crime and property crimes. We still have 4 open murder cases. Those are from 2020. One of those has resolved. So we had 5. One of those resolved. 2 attempted homicides. The backlog is getting whittled down. We have a case set for jury trial. It's number 1 priority, the 8th to the 9th of next month, but that is a case from the end of last year. So we have made significant progress on the backlog from the court's shutdown. But overall, the trends are very similar. DUIs and thefts, sex assault cases have remained fairly steady from year to year, tracking 2020, 21, and the current year. Personnel, things are good. We are still fully staffed, and everybody is doing well. Just a report, Mr. Woodall went to SWAT Hell Week with the Iron County Sheriff's Office. He's one of the liaisons, helps advise the SWAT team because that's a high liability call out. So we like to have an attorney there to advise, and Sam has shown an interest in that, and they challenged him to go to Hell Week to go through the training, and he passed with flying colors. I was getting reports daily, and on the first day, correct me, Sam, you were one of 5 that passed, that qualified on the first day, or one of the first events.
The handgun shoot, yeah.
The handgun shoot. So it's not easy, and sometimes even law enforcement officers don't make it through for injuries or other reasons. But when did they discover that you were an attorney and not a...
Day 2.
Day 2.
Oh.
Nice.
Has any other attorney done that?
I
On
think
this?
up north there's some of the bigger offices. I think Utah County has sent a couple of prosecutors through, but nobody from Iron County. So he was the first one, and I think he earned some significant street cred with our law
that's cool.
enforcement officers in the county.
Will they take away your certification if you do something like manly?
Just trying to make sure he's not tempted to go be a trooper. I had a meeting on Friday, and they were joking that they wanted to recruit him to be an officer. And I said,
I just want to reiterate, and I've said it before in this meeting, Sam's a badass.
he sure is. Concur.
Just want that on the record.
Yeah.
Troopers make a lot of money. Just saying.
I'm like, don't tell him too much.
Chase,
Okay.
gotta chase a lot
Yeah,
of
we don't
tail
want to. We don't want to lose. We don't want to lose Sam.
So far, the last budget snapshot that I got from Dan looks good. I have no concerns there for the attorney's budget. Ours is pretty simple, and I don't anticipate any issues arising this year. I did want to highlight a case. This was a case I didn't tell you that when Mr. Slade was going to be sentenced and convicted. I apologize. This was a case that Mike, I think, was it your first case that you investigated as a detective?
It was my first sex case.
Yeah.
My first sex case and my first call out.
Yeah, 2004 was a cold case, went unsolved for 18 years. Some familial DNA
Wow.
took place in Arizona where the suspect was doing the same thing as a rape case. And they were able to identify him in our case, and he was convicted and sentenced to 15 years in prison this last week, which is a good thing.
awesome.
18 years for a victim to believe that she was raped and her
Went loose.
abuse, that was
Cool.
good. She was happy, and I know that was one that, Mike, you still had it was like a sketch.
I still have the sketch. Yeah, I still have the composite sketch that we did in my office. It's been there since.
Did
we
it look
did
like him?
Uh-huh.
Did.
Interesting.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it did.
So the DNA process wasn't near what it is today, right?
No.
So how did they take DNA and they keep that for that long?
So what happened was the suspect's brother, I think, did one of these Ancestry.com, sent his
yeah.
DNA in, and they were able to do what's called familial DNA, and maybe Mike can explain it, but they can check and see if there's a match with DNA on file, and they can show the family tree, and they were identify it and narrow it down, and sure enough, find this guy, and he was prosecuted and convicted in Arizona, but we were identify him and get him. in our
We had
case as well.
DNA. We had DNA from our case back in 2004. Collected the DNA, submitted it to the CODIS system. it came up with a match, but it was an unknown perpetrator match on a rape out of Flagstaff. So they'd done the same thing. So we knew we had a serial rapist, but an unknown suspect. And then DNA technology caught up.
Wow,
To
that's
where-
amazing.
Yeah, the sensitivity is a lot better. We had one last year, this similar. It was retested, and they were able to identify who the suspect was because it's just so much more sensitive and better process. So
Technology is wonderful.
it is. No, it is.
Good
There's some-
thing in this case, especially.
But just know when you do your 23andMe or your ancestry, it's
If you got
might
a,
go
if you got
for
a
it.
shady
Database.
relative, they might get it.
But any other questions? Nothing, no concerns. I think everything's going smoothly in the attorney's office. Everybody is busy and working hard, but no concerns. Any questions or anything?
Just a comment. I heard a news story over the weekend in California. Things are getting so bad. They're closing Walmarts and Targets and these big stores because criminals can walk in and basically walk out for anything less than $1,000. They won't prosecute them.
Yeah.
Just walking in these stores, taking what they want, and walking out the front door.
So in those areas, they're just closing them. I saw that too.
It's incredible how the lawlessness. I mean, could you imagine
You
being
just-
a
And,
You
that's
just-
been in
it's
effect
just-
for years. And I had a relative that had the guy come on camera, come into his house and take all of his tools and things.
Yeah.
Took it to law enforcement, and they said, we won't even touch it if it's under $1,000.
I mean,
and,
that's just
It's
ridiculous.
unsustainable, and
what in the world?
we'll push back
That is
significantly.
Awful.
But I think hopefully the pendulum is swinging. We've had several years where, there was hopes that they could reform the criminal justice system, but
It's kind of not working out
Yeah.
that way, is it?
there's certain tried and true things that we need to keep the foot on the gas and
Anyway.
hold people accountable that are victimizing people. So
Yep. We appreciate you, Chad, and all you do.
you bet.
Thanks. Okay, let's go to Justice Court. Lori.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I will start with the budget. We are on target also. The budget report that you see there, it says July 31st, but technically this is till the end of June. We had some adjustments, so Dan printed this for me just after the first of the year. Just some technicalities that he needed to take care of. So we're on target. From a staffing standpoint, we're still fully staffed, and when we get to the citation report and the Justice Court Monthly, you can see that we're pretty steady in terms of our caseload. And let's see. So if you move to the there's the citation report, and I always just include that for your information. I think we're up to in the neighborhood of about 5,500 cases so far this year that have been filed into the Justice Court between infractions and misdemeanors, and that's going to be important because I'll speak to that in a few minutes. The third sheet I have there is the Justice Court Monthly. It's just a recap for January through June. Seems like from 21 to 22, you've got DUIs show that they're down 27 over 21. And then the other significant spots, I think, were moving violations. They're up by about 300 this year over 21. And then domestic violence, notably, is up, I think, somewhat considerably. Controlled substances, narcotics, looks like they're down a little bit in terms of the filings. Revenue collected and revenue dispersed, about 16,000, 17,000 more collected in 22 than in 21. 26,000 more dispersed. I think that's probably some, obviously that's what's being dispersed to the state. And then revenue retained is down about 9,000. And that would be the difference between the dispersed and the collected if you think about it. And I wanted to speak to justice court reform. I spoke to Commissioner Cousins last week because I just wanted to give him a heads up and thought this was maybe an appropriate time to address this with the commission. So in June, they voted to open a bill on justice court reform. So they had done the task force. I think Judge Dunlap was a part of it. I think he might have been the only non-attorney judge on that panel, on that task force. So they've decided to open a bill that'll go before, I guess, this next legislative session, and I think it's real important that we watch that. And my understanding of what they hope to accomplish, amongst many things, will be that justice courts would only handle infractions. They're looking to create a division court. This is what they're referring to it as of now. What it'll actually be called, I don't know. So they'll carry your misdemeanor C's, B's, A's, I believe. And again, I'm not, I'm not an expert on what's transpired. I'm just giving you a synopsis. District court would, maintain the felonies. Also, I believe small claims would go to the division court. Because this year they went to 15,000, so the max filing on small claims is currently 15,000. And I think maybe you'll remember that we talked about that that whole process now starts in this online dispute resolution system. So they don't file a case and they automatically get set for trial. They go through this online dispute resolution. If they can't reach resolution, then they're set for trial. They're kicked out of that system and set for trial. I think a couple of the important things that they hope to accomplish is court of record. They want, justice courts have recordings, but they are not technically a court of record and a court of record. And for appeals, this is, something that's perceived as obviously really important that they be able to not have, and maybe Shad, you could even speak better to it, instead of the trial de novos.
Yeah, so whenever there's
Chad, you want to come up to the microphone? Thanks.
Sorry to drag you into this.
Making a record right now.
Thank you. Good job.
So anytime there's a jury trial or any kind of a bench trial, the recording is used as a record. So if there's an appeal, if it's for a felony example, it goes up to the Court of Appeals. In that record, there's a transcript, and that's what's used for the basis of the appeal. Of course, in justice court, where it's not a trial of record, we get a de novo appeal, so it just is a new trial automatically. So that causes some issues from time to time.
Thank you. No, that's perfect. And I think that they would eventually, through, retirement, defection, that kind of thing, like to see all law-trained judges. I think that's one of the reasons they want to see these misdemeanors go to these division courts. So what does that look like? What are the timelines? If this were passed, what they're saying to us is that in 2024, they would start with the 3rd district, which I believe is, the larger district. And then other districts every year to 2 years afterward. So if what our lineup in that would be, I don't know. One of the reasons that it was important that I talked to Paul was because they're starting to try, they realize there's going to be financial impact, so they want to do a feasibility study. And I think it's going to be overwhelming. Again, this is not official, but so hearsay, for instance, in 3rd district, they might be looking at having to hire 25 new judges. I mean, that's at tremendous expense all on its own, which would mean that the state and the AOC would probably have to beef up their human resource department. And again, I'm not making official comments. This is, hearsay, but I think it's important because I don't know what they'll end up determining in terms of, the feasibility and what it's going to cost. Certainly there's going to be impact. And not that a justice court or any court should ever be a revenue generator, but that is a consequence of the fact that fines are assessed when there's crimes.
So my question is why can't we just get whatever the standard needs to be so that the justice court's recordings don't require a de novo appeal. That to me is like the tail wagging the dog.
And there's where I could pass on what they've shown so far in terms of that task force and things that they've discussed. This is the direction they seem to be wanting to go. So I don't think anything in Iron County, if this were to even be passed, would be seen until 25 or 26, and that's if we're in one of the lineups, for one of the first to be, to be implemented after 3rd District. The facilities department reached out. AOC Facilities Department has reached out and are wanting to know the size of our court, our measurements. They wanted to know who the leasing agent is so that they can start talking to them about what the leasing expense would be. So it doesn't feel nice, I can tell you that.
It's like we're coming in and taking it over.
Yeah,
out from under us.
You'll still have a justice court, and it will simply handle infractions. I do think that one of the things that you'll see is some of the misdemeanor C, like non-moving violations, might become infractions. I think you'll see some transition in terms of the severity of some of the charges and statutes. So you might see more items or charges becoming infractions. Any questions? Paul, thank you for talking to me the other day. And
yeah, I don't know. Seems like we're playing defense with the state a lot.
Yeah.
At the legislature, and
I
asked this gentleman that I talked to about the lease and stuff. It just, I don't know. Said, how are you guys going to make us whole with the revenue we lose? And he didn't have an answer for that.
No. We'll just keep our eyes on it, and all of you watching that bill, and any
Do you have a bill number yet?
Not that I've been given.
You keep us apprised of
if
that.
you
so we
get that.
Watch that.
You bet. Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Molly.
Okay, Victims Advocate, Bree.
Thank you, Brian.
I thought I was so organized when I was like, I know I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna topple all these papers.
Thanks.
Good morning. Okay, so the sheet you have in front of you covers the past year since our grant cycle just ended. I included the whole year. So from July 1st, 2021 until June 30th, 2022, we served 781 clients. And you can see the breakdown there. 206 of them were male, 503 of them were female, and 9 we didn't have a report of their gender. For ages 0 to 12, there were 72 victims. 13 to 17, there were 95. 18 to 24, there were 133. 25 to 59, there were 361. 60 and older, there was 49, and then not reported was 8. So this isn't all of the...
How do you know it's not reported?
Huh?
How do you know it's not reported? What does that
So
mean?
we take our information off of Spillman, which is the law enforcement database. So if they don't put like an age
So they
in or
might
something,
not
then we
count.
don't have the age, and so we just put that it's not reported. So in the little chart there are some of the victimizations. That's not all of them. The list that we have is like 30 things long. So I simplified it for you and just included some of the bigger ones. So adult physical assault, there was 144 victims. Adult sexual assault, there was 50. Child physical abuse or neglect, there was 82. And so this number isn't just like children that were abused or victims. It includes their parents also, if we worked with their parents. Child sex abuse, same thing. It was 159, so that would include any parents that we worked with. Domestic and or family violence, there was 144. And then suicide. So suicide's not a victimization, right? It's not a crime, but we use the compassion funds that we have to help serve them. one of the papers that I gave you was this cute little blue sheet. So here's a shameless plug for the walk that I put on for AFSP. I'm on the board of directors for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So because of that connection and the fundraising that we do, we're able to bring survivor packets to our program from AFSP. So anytime somebody dies by suicide, me or one of my other advocates provide them with a packet through AFSP to give them some resources and somebody to reach out to, because we can't provide like long-term supports. So we just kind of give them a referral and deal with in the moment crisis. So there were 15 individuals in this last year that we assisted and provided those packets to. And then individuals with more than one victimization, there was 166. We used $4,140, almost $150 of our emergency funding. We had $5,000 allotted this last year. This coming grant cycle, we have $3,000. We've always used more than $3,000, so I'm going to see if I can move some funds around to make sure that we don't have to be super tight. We use these for things like emergency food, clothing, shelter if somebody needs to go to a hotel.
Does that money's come from grants?
Yeah, it comes from VOCA.
Yeah.
So it's one of the allowable costs in the recent. So in the first couple years of our program, they allowed us to have $10,000, and then with the budget cuts, they brought it down to $5,000. And then just with trying to wiggle things around and cost the county as little money as possible, we reduced that to $3,000, but I might have some wiggle room and be able to move some funds back over there if we need them. But we did also, in addition to the normal stuff that we help with, hotel rooms, clothing, things like that, we were able to help clean evidence for a homicide victim, which was really nice because then we didn't have to give them back clothing and things that were dirty. So that was nice to have. We also have worked on peer support teams. So we're working on the Sheriff's Office peer support team, and Cedar PD has their own peer support team. So this is peer support for officers. We worked with the jail and local law enforcement to make sure, and the county attorney's office to make sure that we were up on the jail release agreement changes in the law and no contact notices to protect victims in the time when law enforcement intervenes until they can apply for a protective order, because sometimes that takes a little bit of time. We also have a training coming. I included a flyer for y'all. If you would like to attend, you're welcome to. Marlise Jones from the Utah Prosecution Council is going to be coming down and doing a training for our officers. She's an awesome trainer. She comes and does our legislative updates. She's super knowledgeable. She was an advocate for like 10 years and then went on to be a prosecutor, and she's super knowledgeable, so I'm hoping that we get a lot of people to that because it'll be a good training. And then down at the bottom there, you can just see some kudos that I have for Jaden and Wendy. I ask them every quarter to send me something that they're proud of. So Jaden had said that he'd been involved in helping an SUU student to make a police report regarding a sexual assault. Initially, it was reported to the father, and the victim didn't really want to report. But after talking to Jaden and learning more about the process and stuff, she decided to report. So that's pretty awesome and a good way that we can kind of help to intervene. After that, he received a text that said, "I seriously appreciate everything you've done for me. I wouldn't have felt comfortable saying anything about what I'd gone through if I hadn't talked to you first. It means so much." Wendy had worked with a victim on a case, and they sent her the following email. I changed some of the information just for confidentiality. So her victim said, "I wanted to say thank you so very much for your support and kind words of encouragement that I so needed to get me through this situation I found myself in. If I didn't have you to reach out to, I'm not sure where I would be, so thank you so very much. Between the police officers dispatched to our home and you reaching out to me the next day, I'm very grateful to you for all the professionalism you have shown me, but also towards the suspect who was so lost at the time. I felt truly cared about and that my well-being was important in life. I don't know if I could have found the strength to learn to be strong for myself again without your guidance. This is my first experience with the law and arrest, along with everything else that is to follow, and you were my calm through this first part of the storm." I think that those both speak volumes because it's interesting for us because we're in the system and we kind of understand it and we know what to expect and what's going on, but for victims, they come in and they don't know anything about what to expect or anything like that. So Yeah, that's kind of all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will go to Paul, Water Conservancy District.
Thank you, sir.
If you're interested, I'll go over just a couple of highlights on that. Thank you. Paul Monroe with the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District. Just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight because we'll be talking about a few of those as I give my update on the financial report. The first that's highlighted on the sheet there is just water revenue, and of course that's up throughout the year. A lot of that has to do with our continued growth as that comes into our system. Water revenue is just what water people actually use. But then down below, you can see there are impact fees, our connections. What we had budgeted, we budgeted 75 new connections, and we'd received 109. So that's good to be able to receive that already, especially with not knowing what direction things are going to go in the future. It's kind of nice to have that. But if we'll turn over the page on the capital side of that budget, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The Check Cliffs project we've been talking about for a couple of years, as I've reported here, is complete and finalized. And they have good drinking water, and we've been able to work with some of your offices here in putting together liens for some of those that did the assessment process, and so that's worked really smoothly, and we're just really excited and glad that we've got good or better drinking water for that community out there. Pine Valley Water Supply Project there that's listed, we've got a couple of change orders, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then our water improvement project. This is a project that we are really happy. It took a long time to, as you can see there, I have in the notes off to the side there that we just closed on a loan for that project. And it was like a 2.5 year process of trying to go through the USDA on this. But as much as I was trying to push and get things to go through, it actually worked out really well because we hit the low in the market rate for interest rate, and now we're just hoping that things will level off and construction costs will go down a little bit as we go out to bid. We're finishing up some of the design on a lot of that project, and we'll go out to bid this winter, spring for a lot of these projects, and so I'll talk about those quickly. So this water improvement project, it's a total of $19 million. Some of that has to do with refinancing some existing loans that we have, and the other portion of that, there's $4 million that we'll receive in grant, and the other $15 million will be the loan, and that's at 1.75% interest for 40 years. So we feel really good about that. The project itself entails putting in a water tank that is near the intersection of Iron Springs Road and Desert Mound Road. It's just kind of tucked away past that mine booster station. There's a booster pump station we have there up on some of Frank Nichols' property, and it'll be a 4 million gallon tank. And the other portion of that, which we'll begin constructing fairly soon, is the extension of a water line along Iron Springs Road out past the landfill. So we'll have we've already planned on putting in a fire hydrant there for the fires that occasionally happen out there. So it'll be good to have a really sustainable, reliable source of water there.
You'll run a spur up to the landfill?
We weren't planning on running a spur. We were just planning on having a fire hydrant right there along Iron Springs Road.
We could fill easily.
Water
trucks, yeah, yep. And of course, you'd have that 4 million gallons of storage behind us, so it'd take a really long time to deplete that source. So you could spray a lot of water with that right there, and in the future, maybe the county would want to extend a spur all the way up through there. That's definitely a possibility, but not in our plans right now currently to do that. Of course, we could talk about that. It'll go beyond the landfill, and it'll go to the BZI property that's out there. They're the ones that are extending that. So we've created a public-private partnership with them to extend that water line and put it in. It'll be an 18-inch line. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. And then some of the other parts of the project include drilling a couple of additional wells for source and putting in another tank up at Cedar Highlands. So we're going to put in a 500,000-gallon tank up there and bury it, concrete tank. It'll be nice for that area specifically where it's at higher elevation. We have the tanks that are there now are still tanks, and when it gets cold, we've had times where the ice block that's in there, the water will drop down, and where that ice block is up above, it may be attached to some railing or something like that, and it'll tear off portions of the tank and rip things out. So it'll be nice to get that better insulated and buried and put in the ground. And then some of the other stuff that we have will involve looping some of our other water lines, just some other water line stuff we're looking at putting in. So that's that project, and we're happy and excited for the funds we've received and be able to get going on that.
So, Paul, are you looking to develop any wells in the other basin, the Escalante Basin, to feed back to?
Yeah, the well that I mentioned, we've actually sited a well through a well locating company called Willow Stick, and we are currently out to bid for test wells to conduct a test well at that location.
Is it out by Wecco, or where's it at?
It's not quite. No, the location they found is west of the landfill on the north side, or in that area. So on the north side of the road, I should say.
The gun range.
Yeah, not quite that far.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's in that general area.
But it's in another basin. What is that?
It's in Basin 71. Okay. Yeah. Yep. So that's a primary focus for sure. We want to be able to supply the mine with water rights we have from that area, in that area. So
be good.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? And our Pine Valley Water Supply Project is moving along. We're addressing public comments right now, and in fact, this last week we're doing some reconnaissance work, and we went to Maryland's farm, and they went out and dipped some wells. We're investigating different wells and springs out in the area to do some additional background.
2 of ours, I think. Matt said they were able to get into them, which we've got 2 pumps in one well, so that was a little tricky, but they got it, so that's good.
Yeah, somehow they got it and got the tape back out. Unfortunately, on some of the others, I know on our
they didn't
on our big tape. Yeah, we had 1,000-foot tape, and they left 160 feet down in the bottom of one. So
dang.
we'll have to that fixed up. But yeah, we were able to test yours and able to contact a lot of other landowners out in the area, and they seemed good to, part of what this plan is to make sure that people know what their levels are, and they can opt into a program where we can really monitor and make sure that they're not affected over the life of the project, and that's the purpose of this. So we appreciate Marilyn and Matt and letting us observe their well, and those others that did as well.
I think it protects us, myself. If it does affect our wells, we want to know.
Right.
And so for people that don't want that, I don't understand it, because I feel like it's a protection for us. So
yeah, and I agree.
Besides it helping you guys, so
right.
We're all on board with that. So
thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll finalize these reports. We'll submit a final EIS, environmental impact statement, to the BLM in October, and then we would hope to have a record of decision by the first of the year. So that record of decision is basically the green light. You could begin constructing that project, as soon as the first of the year. And we know that there's a lot of other steps that will take place between now and then, financing and engineering and other design for the project. But you could technically go ahead and begin constructing the project as soon as the first of the year. So that's what I have on that. On the the third page of that financial report, there is a just shows where we're at status of cash, and we created a new account for the Pine Valley Water Supply Project. So we were starting to save money and put money aside for that. Traditionally, it's just kind of been held with the others, but we wanted to separate it out and have it specifically for that project. So you can see it highlighted there. Any other questions?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do commission reports. Do you want to start, Paul?
Sure.
You go first today.
So we've been working on a lot of flood efforts, mitigation. We've got, I looked at where Dan, Jessen, and I cleaned out the channel that goes from Westview. Well, it goes from Westview Drive going west. There's one part of the bank the residents were a little concerned. I went out and looked at it. I think we're going to get a machine out there and raise it up a little bit. It was still fine, but looked at that. They cut a cross channel across 800 South up by that lift station, out to the north of Westview subdivision. There's a corner down there where everything drains, and we're trying to cut some cross channels across to get that water across, and then we're going to try to clean that channel between the college farm and that road, and clean it out, make it a little wider, maybe add some culverts in some places to carry that water. It's so flat out there. It's just, we have a problem when it rains. The water all collects there and it doesn't flow well. We appreciate Bruce and the road department and Rich and everybody working on that. Curtis. That's a challenge. There's a water line, like a 20-inch water line underneath that ditch, so we can't go deeper. We got to probably go a little wider, and it's just a challenge out there. It's so flat that it just doesn't drain good. Working on that, and then just been working a lot at the fairgrounds. I met Lester and Terry. We got that new the exhibitor or vendor space. We got that built last week, and we painted that, laid out the fencing that Joyce and Susan want to put in some lodgepole fence, and I was going to contact Brent Burr with the corrections and see if they can drill those holes for us. I heard he's got a tractor and a drill, so see if he can drill those, and we can help try to get that put in for the fair. So that's all I've got.
Cool. Mike?
I want to, start off, so our fair kickoff kind of was this last Saturday night with Miss Iron County. It was first I want to thank our outgoing Miss Iron County and our Miss Iron County outstanding teen, Andlin Mbaki and Tanley McCurdy. It's been really fun to get to know those guys and the other attendants in those royalties. They attend so many events, whether it be ribbon cuttings or Utah Summer Games or just different events in the community that we get to rub shoulders with them all year long. And those guys have represented us really well. I talked with Andlin a little bit after the pageant the other night, and she's like, I have your number. I will not allow you to leave me out of things moving forward. I want to be involved. So that's the kind of folks that we have helping us out. Our new Miss Iron County is Talise Mosley, and our new outstanding teen is Jada McCurdy. And I know both of them a little bit, and they'll be awesome. They're going to represent us really well.
That was a nice program.
It was really good. I spent a lot of the time. So there was some messages that needed to get up to the announcer's booth that kept coming to Dan via scrawled on note paper. And then I would take the notes from Dan and run up to the announcer's booth. I spent a lot of the time just climbing stairs and running back and forth, but it worked out really well.
Okay, rub it in. I had to miss it because I had family reunion that we were in charge of because they moved the fair because
It was good.
Our 3-year-old
That's a
grandson even
great-
survived it. He did good. I was proud of him.
Yeah.
Did he?
Sat through the whole thing.
It was
Well,
aw-
looking at those pretty little girls.
That's right,
Oh
yeah.
no.
It was really good. At the airport, we're working towards an open house with an air demo October 15th, working with SUU, the airport, SUU Aviation, and tourism. It's a collaborative effort between all of those folks. One thing that we've undertook this really about the last month, and then really about the last week, and should happen this week. Shakespeare, I'm not going to say Shakespeare's hurting, but Shakespeare's numbers are down a little bit, and they've had quite a bit of stuff going on within their organization, whether it's COVID running through the organization. They've had a couple of key folks retire. They're really busy with the logistics of it. And we've been talking with them for a while on the promotional aspect of it. A couple of different things. We really want to expand the audience that we promote to, as far as just the theater folks. We felt like we needed to expand that. The other thing is last year, so there's a local discount for basically 5 county patrons to the Shakespeare Festival. Last year, only 2% of all of their attendees were even local, and the vast majority of those didn't use the discount. Didn't know about it.
For all 5 counties?
All 5 counties.
Our 5 county?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, and I believe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, 50% off.
So, Mike, just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
We have our 5 county steering committee meeting Wednesday in Panguitch.
Yes.
You ought to have them come over, get on the agenda, and come over and present that, so those commissioners can take it back to their counties and promote that.
It's a good idea.
Or maybe you could. I mean,
Yeah.
I can.
if somebody
Paul
could,
could. Yeah,
or
let's.
Paul could.
I will.
Give him the
information.
I'll,
I can
information.
bring
I'll, Paul will be there. I'll get the
Yeah.
information to Paul.
And then you can present it.
I could do it.
So it's kind of interesting between Maria and I and Mike Maurer at SU Aviation, and then working with Don Jersey at the festival. We've come up with some new promotional stuff. We're actually going to film a commercial this week that's going to be broadcast mostly Southern Nevada, Southern California. I'm not going to give it away. It'll be really cool, but we've been able to do that basically for free. Between the collaboration with SU Aviation, they have their own video production department. We're going to use one of their helicopters. And it can be used as training. It fits right within their mission. We've got Shakespeare. It's going to be really cool. I don't know if it'll be ready by next commission meeting, but I'll debut it. I'll get a copy of it for that. And
Great. That'd be great for us.
It's going to be
see
cool.
it.
But it's going to be Shakespeare doing William Shakespeare doing some things that besides Shakespeare plays. There might be some.
Can
mountain,
you give away who Shakespeare is?
I can't remember the guy's name. I didn't know him.
An actor?
They had to figure out somebody that would fit their Shakespeare costume.
Oh yeah.
And would be able to mountain bike and hike and do some physical activities
Oh wow.
as Shakespeare.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think they're going to film that this week. Should be cool.
I just learned of this local discount not long ago.
Yeah, I did too.
And that's incredible. They're going to offer it to 5 county.
It's always been offered to 5
It's not
county.
new.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So actually, I wonder, Mike, if we could work with Maria and Wyatt to maybe get a little bit of a production value on like a Facebook post, and we could really try to
That
start
would be-
sharing it.
It's already done.
Send me
Well,
the
it's not
link,
done,
will ya?
but that's
That's
yeah.
in the works with this.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
even
in
just to.
so we're going to
Because Charity and I know about it, but we're like, we can't remember what to do, like how to go get it. And
Right.
we know you have to go to the counter. Like, it would be good to get some details and then
Yes.
share that.
It'd be
2%.
great on Facebook.
So with that, we're going to work with. So we've been working with Maria and Wyatt. Wyatt's pretty busy. Southwest Tech's Innovation Center actually has a brand new production studio with all the latest equipment, cameras, and they've got a guy that they've just hired to do that. So I actually have a meeting with them later this week to get them involved as well. The county, through economic development, contributes a large amount to that innovation center, and so they've offered, those resources to help with that at no cost. So,
That's awesome.
so yeah, we're gonna not only we've kind of got this big thing going, but we're gonna do a bunch of shorts, kind of in the form of reels, to release to social media. And really try and get that information out.
That might be a little more grassroots only because, like, when we have like emergency things, it actually spreads pretty well when we try to start sharing it. And
It does.
if it's practical and simple,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep, it
Not
does.
too long. A
So
little bit, though.
we're just, our tourism across Iron County right now is down 10 to 15% in our hotels, in our restaurants. And that goes up and down. But when we're looking at Shakespeare, number one, Shakespeare's been here for 60 years. We can't afford to lose Shakespeare. Shakespeare's doing better than most theater companies in the United States because they've been willing to not chicken out
Every time.
with a lot of the social issues, and so. We thought, with a lot of their internal stuff that's going on, Maria and I and Danny Stewart, Mike Maurer, we've all kind of gotten together and says, okay, what can we do to help them so that they can deal with their internal stuff, but what can we do to bolster them so that they're, take a little of the pressure off of them and offer them some resources.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so we kind of did all this, and then we brought Shakespeare in, and they're like, awesome. So they're
That's amazing.
so they're on board. All three of us commissioners have been involved in inland port discussions over the last couple of weeks. I think that look at starting a public-private coalition with government agencies. Washington County commissioners were also involved with local businesses, and to really form an organization that's going to keep that on the forefront of the board and the inland ports mind. I think that's a good thing. We've talked about a jail site selection committee. I've reached out to a few people and just said, hey, we're doing this. Would you be interested when we get it organized? And had good response on that. I'd like to see that put together. I'd like to maybe approve that committee next commission meeting. If we can get some names and figure that out and get that coalesced and then maybe approve the membership of that committee by next commission meeting.
Yeah.
So we can.
I talked to the mayor. He was in Europe, which boggles my mind. You text somebody and say, I'd like to talk to you, and 2 seconds later he calls, and you're like, where are you? Budapest, Hungary. And I'm like, wow. But anyway, I think he's going to be on the committee. He started looking on his phone to look at sites even, at that point. And I said, well, I don't care who finds it. We just got to find one. We got to go get something pinned down. So
yeah. So I think because we're going to meet with Layton Construction here in the next few weeks to kind of a kickoff meeting as far as the planning and the engineering and everything else. I think this is just a natural progression to get that.
yeah, that was Mayor Green that I talked to. I don't know whether I said that.
Moving at the same time. That's all I've got.
That's all you got.
Yep.
Okay, I'll hurry and run through mine real quick. I was just going to talk about the inland port a little bit, which we're going to have some help with the legislature. We'll have a little bit of lobbying power with this coalition, and we're really excited about that to push that forward. Mike Worthen got us a letter together. The folks back in Washington, D.C. are pushing some new language for the Endangered Species Act, and it scares me to death. So we got a letter together. I signed that this morning that they were going to send through in our opposition of it. It will make it so that it'll be much easier for them to put endangered species in other areas, not in their target areas. Pretty scary stuff. And we also talked about that in the public lands Zoom call that we have a lot of Fridays last week. The fairgrounds is moving forward. We've got the fence pretty much up. We've got a few things left to do, cutting off the top of the posts. We are trying to get the beams cut. We're having a little struggle with that. Hopefully we'll get those this week. We thought they were going to be done today and they didn't get done. Obviously there was a hiccup on that. So we'll keep pressing forward, and I hope we can get them done by this weekend, where the mud bogs start this weekend. So the fair starts this weekend, and we're all excited about that. Thank Paul for all of his work too. He's done tons and tons of work. The work that he's done has saved our road crew because they are so busy right now. They are so far behind from last year with the floods and all that they're just trying to get caught up. So that helped the road crew besides getting, the fairgrounds finished. There's one more thing I want to talk about a little bit. The BLM just started a wild horse gather out west. If anybody in the public would like to attend that, you're able to. You just call the BLM and they'll give you the particulars of how to do that. But we're very excited. They were going to start up in the Wawa Valley to begin with. I think they're going to take off about 400 and something and bring back a few, which it's hard when they bring them back. The really challenging part about that is once they've been caught, then they let them go again. They're very hard to catch. They know what they're in for, and they'll jump through their netting, and it's a mess. Anyway, but they give them the fertility, and that's what they're trying to do, is do some fertility drugs on and different things on the horses for, to help them understand and, document what, if that works or whatever. But anyway, that's pretty much all of mine. So that'll conclude our 9 o'clock meeting. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for our 10 o'clock. We'll be about 10 after. We'll go to number 1. We'll see if there's any public comments. Seeing none, we'll move on. We are going to run over to agenda number 5, discussion of possible approval of a single local consent permit for Red Acre Center held on September 3rd, 2022.
And I'll just speak to that. Hold on a second. Let me get my microphone back. I'll speak to that really quick if there's any additional questions. This is a farm to table event going to be held on September 3rd, 2022, and there will be wine served in conjunction with the winery if that were to be approved. So, and that's how many years is this for this particular event? Several, yeah.
Several years.
Several
4
years.
years.
It's been very successful, and it's a good addition.
Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the single local consent permit for Red Acre Center held on September 3rd, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. All right. We'll go back to item number 2, requesting permission for an access and use of the riprap material at the landfill mine for the improvement on the Coal Creek Emergency Watershed Protection EWP project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did send over a PowerPoint, but if it's not available, that's okay. I can just go. To me? I think I sent it to Chenille.
Yeah, let's. She's off this.
She's chasing bears in Arizona.
Sounds like fun. All right, I'll just speak to it then. I appreciate you guys' time this morning and giving us the opportunity to speak to this. So this project is for the Coal Creek Emergency Watershed Protection Project, which is just on the east side of Cedar City, and it reaches up into the canyon about 7,000 feet. My name's Christian Bennett, and I'm the senior engineer for Cedar City, and with me is Jonathan Stathis, who's the city engineer for Cedar City. And this project, like I said, it runs from Center Street in Cedar City, and it goes up about 7,800 feet into the canyon just south of State Route 14 up to the irrigation structure up there. Just some background on the project. In 2017, there was some riprap material that was put into the channel to prevent lateral erosion hazards. But just about a year later, on August 18th, we had those major flood events. And as a result, some of that riprap bank armoring was lost, and there was some erosion damage that took place in Coal Creek. So as a result of that damage that took place, Cedar City received a grant under the NRCS Emergency Watershed Protection Program on February of 2022 of this year to implement mitigation and repair measures along that same reach of Coal Creek. So after receiving that grant, about a year later, or this year, Cedar City contracted with Bowen Collins to perform a design, bidding, and limited construction services for that project. So we've been working with NRCS and Bowen Collins on this Coal Creek EWP project. I had some pictures of some of the damage that took place, but it basically just shows those vertical banks that were cut in from those excessive flows that were seen in the creek during that time, and the riprap that was lost as well. So as a result, the design objectives for this Coal Creek EWP project are to install riprap along the outside of those cut banks to repair those areas that were damaged during the last flood, to design the channel to maintain velocity, flow depth, and in order to do this, we'll maintain the channel width, increase the riprap size and the angularity of that material to help the flow stay consistent down the channel.
Will this material lock in better? So
Yeah.
the cobblestone rolls, this will lock in to where it'll hold better?
Yeah, we're going to be breaking apart that material to increase that angularity so that way it can key in better and help distribute that force around that material better.
The old stuff had fabric under it. Are you going to put fabric under it as well? Or
The current design has a geofilter fabric underneath it, and it keys in underneath the wall, so that way the water can't slip in underneath it. So that's where we're looking at for the current design, is to have that filter fabric, so that way the water can't get behind the riprap and wash away that bank material. And there's also some areas that are existing grouted riprap, and some of those areas were undermined, so we're also targeting to repair those areas to prevent any further undermining of those grouted riprap areas, and also to repair the channel bottom on the north side of Center Street.
So the grouted areas held up pretty good.
Yeah, so there's kind of a ledge right now because the water at those cut banks kind of cut underneath it. So I think the design idea is to break off those ledges and then compact and then bring the new riprap up and match the existing slope. So that'll help prevent that from happening any further. And then our status on the project is we've worked with Bowen Collins and NRCS. We've done some site reconnaissance, collected the existing information to see what we're looking at. We've done some site reconnaissance. Bowen Collins put together a design report for the project. We've had the 30%, 60%, and 90% design review and specification review. We've put together an O&M plan and an insurance quality assurance plan to ensure that while it's being installed per the design to avoid any issues there, and also to maintain the channel long term. We've conducted a site visit with Bruce Anderson and members of our Stormwater Public Works Department to go and see if there was adequate material size and quantity available at the mine. And based on that site visit, we believe there is. We're in the process of working on the permitting and environmental work. And the last step for us is to see what riprap material we have available, so that way we can either put together a prioritization plan or move forward with the project. So that's where we're at. So our request to the County Commission is to provide us access and to be able to use that about 34,148 cubic yards of material at the mine for this Coal Creek EWP project.
So is this material in existing piles, or you got to mine it?
There's some that's available in existing piles, and some will need to be mined.
Bruce, do you want to talk to that at all?
Yeah, most of it's going to have to be mined. There's very little that's exposed, but we know where a lot is. We can't get it. Or they can. They can come get it. Yeah,
Well, you have to blast or no?
it's all in spoil piles. It's already in spoil piles themselves.
Dig it out of there. Yeah.
What size are you looking at as far as material?
So on the north side of Center Street, once you get over that or past that bridge, it's about 50% more 24-inch, and then as you get further up into the channel, we're looking at 36-inch material.
Yeah, very good.
36 according to the
I think roughly 7,000 cubic yards are 24-inch, and then the remainder of that 34,000, so about 27,000 is in the range of 36 inches.
We called to see what a cost of that type of material, and we figured it out for that amount. It was about $680,000 is what, if you just bought it. Of course, you'll be mining it, so that'll be more work, so it wouldn't be that much. But and we're willing to help with that because we know that it helps us too. And I talked to the mayor about it the other day. When he was in Budapest, Hungary, and Mayor Green. And our ask is just to help us with the jail, find a spot and help us get that. And he said, well, that's not the same. And I said, but you help us and we'll help you. So that's what our ask is just that we'll provide that material for you, but that the city will work with us with our jail project. So,
and part of that, I mean, we haven't got we're not sure of we're forming a committee to figure out our final site, but there's a possibility that we may need some water.
Yeah.
And infrastructure.
And we may look at other
into
sites
that
too. I mean, and
yeah, and we may. I mean, we don't know yet. It's
yeah.
But we're probably going to need some help somewhere.
Yeah.
We would just ask for some cooperation.
Cooperation. That's exactly it.
Jonathan Staff, the city engineer for Cedar City. Thank you very much for entertaining this request. Yeah, just a few things. I think there is some great benefit to Iron County for the completion of this project. As we all know, a lot of that riprap was washed down towards the Woodbury split, and of course we all know what happened there. The other issue is, we're protecting critical infrastructure. We've got Highway 14 that runs right along there. There's power lines, and water lines that run down through there. So this is it's a critical project in many respects for both Cedar City and Iron County.
Right.
In terms of what the request that you're making, it might be a good idea to put together a written agreement where these details are worked out. So we'd probably want to work with the city attorney and the county attorney and see what we can do to, if that's the way the county commission wants to move in terms of, having some things that need to be worked out with other projects. I think that would probably be the best way to go.
Sam, could we have something maybe drafted for an agreement between us and Cedar City for this rock and you? I mean, we don't know what an ask will be, but we just would like them to cooperate with us with whatever we need to get through the process.
So, Jonathan, here's the deal. I mean, and we fully realize that this is helping Iron County a lot, as much as you, but so's the jail. I mean, we've got to remember that the Cedar City is the biggest customer for our jail, and so and that's something to be considered as well. We just want to, and we have a great relationship with Cedar City. We always have.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that when we're working through all these things, we help each other. That's all.
Yep.
So would you recommend working through Jonathan then to get the details of the agreement, or Mr. Romerl?
Both of us.
Okay.
Yeah, you could work with.
We'll make it work. But what timeline are you thinking for that?
When are you going to start mining that?
That's a good question. I think we're looking at possibly going out to bid this fall.
Yeah, we should have design complete by end of September.
So not in a big hurry, but in the next couple of months, probably.
Not a real big hurry. We need to do the project during a time of low flow, so it's not. We can't really do it until
the monsoons.
Right, until after the monsoon season's over. So
so
it's not a real big rush, but.
Are your city crews doing the work, or are you hiring it done?
We're probably going to contract it out. Yeah. But that's the other issue. We're not sure we have enough money to complete the full project. It's probably going to be a phased project over a few years, is what we're looking at now. We don't know for sure yet until we see bids. Obviously, with the bidding environment we've had this summer, it's been tough to get, good bids. So that's another thing that we probably want to include in the agreement is, maybe a time frame for when we could, use that material.
Yeah, that would be good.
And we'll be looking at that a little bit more once we get cost estimates together and things like that. But, but yeah, I can't really speak too much to the jail. Obviously, I've been familiar with things that have been done so far, but in terms of those negotiations, that's probably going to need to go through our city attorney. So.
Yep.
But we can, we'll deal more with the engineering side on our end.
Okay. Yep.
So
all right.
I guess we'll just get with the county attorney's office and work on that.
So maybe we'll just go ahead and put it off, and then go ahead and do it in a commission meeting later on when we get that agreement put together. I think that'd be.
Yeah. Once we get that agreement together, then we'll need to take it to the city council as well. So
Okay.
We'll just. Should we work with Reed on getting on the agenda again?
Or my office.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as long as Sam's in the loop, he'll help make sure it gets on the agenda. So.
Okay.
So I think if Sam and Tyler and you are working on the agreement, and if you want to put it before the city council first or here, either way, as long as we're aware of it and we go through the process, we can get it on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, we'll go to number 3 on the agenda. Discussion possible approval of grants awarded to Newcastle and Borough Fire Department to purchase protective equipment and radio communication. Ryan Riddle.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ryan Riddle, the Iron County Fire Warden. So we applied for, and I believe you have a copy of those grants in front of you. We applied for and received notice that we were able to obtain the grants that we requested. So $10,000 in radio communications for Newcastle Fire Department, and $9,505 in communications and personal protective equipment for the Borough Fire Department. So both of those were awarded to us. Just asking for the approval to go ahead and expend those funds. They are 50-50 match grants, but they do allow in-kind, and we do have enough in-kind to match, so we won't have any hard dollars that'll come out.
Great.
Any questions on the grants?
I think I'm just thrilled to get them some equipment. That's been, one of our focuses since I've been on the commission to make sure that we have those folks out in the West Desert covered.
Yeah.
It's been a kind of a challenge.
And we've been successful with a couple of grants this year. So we're still waiting for one more to come in. We should hear on it by the end of September, and that's for a fire engine for Burrell. So we've still got one large grant that's outstanding. So hopefully we'll be hearing something soon on it. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
While we got you still here, did you get your excavator?
I'm glad you asked. I was actually going to wait until the approval was over and give you an update on that. It actually is going to be delivered this week, so I expect to see it before Wednesday. So,
nice.
Yeah, so it's very close. They had some problems with setup. It was lacking a wiring harness from the factory, and so that set them back a little bit. But everything's set, and I got notification last week that it passed their inspections and is ready to be transported this week, and we may see it as early as today, but I'm confident that we'll have it for sure by Wednesday.
And it comes with the bullhog attachment? And
yes, it'll have a bullhog
and a bucket.
attachment and a bucket with a thumb.
Does it have a quick change?
I believe so, yeah. In the specifications, I noticed that there was a quick change in that, so that should be a nice machine. And
cool.
Yeah,
Is it a cat?
It is a cat. It's
320?
It's a 325 cat.
Cool.
So, and then I just got word last week, an engine that we requested through the BLM for Parowan Fire Department will be delivered. It's actually in Cedar City, so that was awarded I think 3 years ago, and COVID slowed everything down, and the BLM wasn't able to get their replacement engine. But it is in Cedar. The local BLM unit's going to go through it to make sure it's good to go. And there should be a transition in ownership here sometime this week. And then I was also able to get an engine for Cedar City Fire Department, a Wildland Urban Interface engine that came through a similar program through the state. So we should be seeing that engine this week as well. So
great.
A couple of new assets coming into the county to help us out, and the BLM, the program they have is essentially when they're done using them, rather than selling them, they're donating them to needy fire departments.
That's awesome.
And Cedar City's a little unique because there was a qualification requirement attached to it, and Cedar City met that qualification requirement. There was 2 of these given out throughout the state, so it was competitive, and it was kind of a last minute, hey Ryan, get an application in on this. So I threw something together and was awarded the next day. So
cool.
Pretty exciting. So
it's exciting.
What about the equipment for Newcastle? That was delayed till next year?
It was delayed, and we'll reapply
CDBG
in December for CDBG. Yep. So
that's hopeful too.
Yeah. Talking to CDBG, it was basically a paper shuffle that kept us out this time because some of the paperwork hadn't been processed for the station, and that's long past taken care of, and so they said that we would likely be successful for Newcastle this year. So
I'm on that state board, so if I can help.
Yeah, you've been a ton of help, and I super appreciate it. So, yep. It's great to have people in our commission that have those influences elsewhere, and you 3 have done an amazing job with that, and I super appreciate it. So.
Okay, let's get a motion.
I would move for approval of. How do I put it? Oh, I lost my place. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Move for approval of grants awarded to Newcastle and Borough Fire Department to purchase protective equipment and radio communications.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
Looked like you had a question.
I do have a question. Well, are you going to be around?
I will.
For a
yeah.
phone call later?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question, but
I'll look
call,
forward.
I'll call you.
I'll look forward to that call. Thank you very much. Appreciate
You betcha.
it.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 4. Discussion of possible approval of an amendment or vacation of the motor vehicle driveway easement of Iron County property and adjoining property in conjunction with building the Iron County Fire Station building. Reed Erickson.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is unfortunately one of the things that you discover when you don't want to know when you get a title report. We've just put this graphic together. This is the site plan, the civil site plan for the Newcastle Fire Department or Fire Station property. And you can see in the bottom left-hand corner is where the fire station is being located. And it just happened to be on an easement that we were not aware was there. The red indicates an easement that's 290 feet long. It's an ingress-egress easement for a vehicle, motor vehicle driveway easement that was granted in conjunction with the property owner to the east or to the west. They gave 20 feet down that property line. We gave 20 feet for a 40-foot by 290-foot easement. Our proposal to resolve this problem is to vacate the easement as it exists currently, 40 feet by 290 feet long, and then just re-grant what's outlined in the green, just the same width but only 100 feet long, so that it doesn't encumber the fire station building and its location. John has been in contact with the property owner. This is a different property owner than what the property we were working with when the easement was granted originally. I don't think he was even aware that this easement was there. And so when it was brought to his attention and explained what we were trying to do, he seemed, and I let John explain his position, but I think it's still favorable for him because he's gaining additional 20 foot of use of the rest of that property and still has the access off of the front. I don't see how he's hurt in any way. And our proposal today is for the county to approve the vacation of that easement and the granting of the 100-foot deep easement rather than what's currently there. John, you want to let the commission know what the property owner's position was?
Yeah, so he was amenable. I brought it up with him, and he happened to be at a property in Pine Valley, and so he and his wife met me there, and there was a thunderstorm happening, so we didn't have a lot of time to talk. But he seemed amenable to it. He was unaware of the easement before I spoke with him, and then he kind of started talking about remuneration, and I said, well, you would be helping with the public safety here, and you would gain 20 feet on your property. So we'll see kind of how the rest of that conversation goes. We were going to get back with him, maybe even prepare the document so that if he were amenable, we could move forward. But that was
the
it was
timing
pretty,
of
fairly
this is
positive.
critical,
Yeah.
and we've been trying to move as quickly as possible, and John's been trying to negotiate with them to get this signed. We had to cancel a closing last week because this was an outstanding issue. We had 2 outstanding issues that wouldn't allow us to close last week. We still hadn't got clearance for the contractor based on their SAMS registration, SAMS.gov, and the state hadn't approved the contractor, the contract that we approved back in June, early June 13th, I believe. And he's been trying to go through the federal clearance process to get a contract number, and that still hasn't occurred, but the state has recognized the difficulty, and we've coordinated with them, and they've been really good to understand the problem is with their software, and they've got a glitch in their registration problems, and they sent an email explaining that it was on their end and that the contractor did not show up on the banned list of contractors, and so they issued a letter of clearance for the contractor to go ahead. And so that part's been resolved in order for us to close on the CIB bond. This is the only thing that's holding us up now is this easement. And so if we can judiciously approve this agreement and get the signatures and get it recorded so that we can get the CIB a copy of that, then we'll go ahead with the closing. We're scheduled to close on the property on the 25th.
If the commission approves this, we'll try and get something in front of him in the next day or two, because this does hold. The problem is the easement goes over where the building wants to be built, and
That's not cool.
we can't do that.
And we can't move the building, and the pad's already there. I mean, the foundation. Bruce and his crew last fall actually dug the footings and compacted the site and got it all ready, and the footings are there, and so.
The easement was given for a parcel behind these parcels. If you think about Highway 56 up here on the north end, but the parcel behind has since. Well, first of all, the easement would go through the person's living room now. But second of all, it's not necessary because they access from a different way. So this
easement originally went clear from Highway 56 down through this property and down through the next property to 200 North in Newcastle. That portion of the easement has since been vacated because they subdivided that piece and created 2 lots there and built a house on one of them, which is right in the alignment of where this road would have gone. I'm not sure why we didn't vacate this at the same time, but it just wasn't necessary because that's not where we were building. And so it is just kind of a situation.
This seems pretty straightforward, and unless they really insist on some kind of remuneration, I think we can probably get it in front of them, and hopefully they will.
So just tell him next time he comes in for a vacation of one of his streets in Newcastle, we won't be able to do it. It's kind of like the Rock in the jail situation.
Yeah,
he's a fairly influential person, and yeah.
So anyway, he understands also the public safety interest, and I think we can.
Should we go ahead and?
Any other questions?
I'll move to approve an amendment or vacation of a motor vehicle driveway easement on Erin County property and adjoining property in conjunction with building the Newcastle Fire Station building.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. Okay, we already did 5. So any county boards that we need to?
Maria and I have met several times,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not talked about boards. We've had all sorts of other stuff. So,
But you do have somebody on that,
Stuff.
on
That's
your
kind of an
board with
It
the
is, yeah.
Well,
tax money.
That is-
Didn't you say that
Had a-
somebody had gone
yeah,
off
there's a
and we
couple
need
of
somebody-
there's a couple of vacancies there.
So we
and
probably need to work on that.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
Anything else? Anybody else has? Okay, I guess we'll adjourn. Thank you, everyone.